Welcome to Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond. The primary focus of Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond is teaching people to use their natural abilities in quantum healing. This is an opportunity to enter the quantum realm and develop your metaphysical gifts, expand your energy to improve your life, your community, the planet, and beyond. In addition to quantum healing, Todd will cover many fun topics such as Bigfoot, UFOs, near-death experiences, ghosts, shadow people, and many others. Todd has a lifelong fascination with alternative healing, consciousness, expansion, and the human potential. Now, your host, Todd Wilcox.
Well, hello, everybody. I always want to say good morning, but who knows when you're listening. If you're listening to it in the morning, good morning. To the rest of you, you figure it out. I'm sure you can do it. So hello to everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about my book, Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing for Individuals, Communities, the Planet, and Beyond. You can find that on Amazon.com just by typing in, by searching Slipstream Shaman. You can go online and get to the website, slipstreamshaman.com, and there's a link to order the book there. And those are the two best ways. You can also leave me an email at the slipstreamshaman.com web address. I would also encourage anybody that has a question or that wants to keep up with what we're doing to follow me on Instagram, again, Slipstream Shaman. And that's where all the new stuff will be posted. And there's also a YouTube link that will have a lot of stuff soon. So we're getting all ready for that. So today we're going to talk about the book Slipstream Shaman. We're also going to talk about a couple things that are in the second book, the new Slipstream Shaman. And that's all about trauma liberation. So we're going to have a fun couple hours here. So thank you for joining us. And here we go. So what is a Slipstream Shaman? We're going to show you the book again. What is a Slipstream Shaman? What that is talking about, there's so much going on in quantum physics with shamanism. And it doesn't matter what type of shamanism you study. It really boils down to energy and spirit. And energy is what quantum mechanics is all about. So there's a ton of quantum physics in this work to start with. And I tie in some of those words and help me explain what we're doing. So when you hear slipstream, that's all about speed. That's all about getting things done fast. And I'm not saying that different methodologies, modalities aren't good that are slower. What I'm saying is I don't have the time, and many people don't have the time. And so this is all geared to make changes and get things moving fast for you. The book can be read about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. 95% of the people that get it can read it in that time. If you want to just get started on the techniques, you can be going in 45 minutes after you have the book. Open up the book, 45 minutes later, you can start working on all the things in it. The second half of the book talks about Poly-Medela, which we will talk about today, and it also talks about some of the experiences I've had. So you can get an idea of what's out there, what you can work on, what some of the possibilities are. First part of the book just shows you how to do it, shows you the methods. And when you're thinking slipstream, for those of you that aren't familiar with the word, I want you to picture driving on the freeway, and this has happened to all of us. You're driving on the freeway and a semi goes past you, semi-trailer, and it pushes you off to the side. And then as it goes by, it sucks you back over where you were. And if you decide to get right behind that semi, say you were going 65 miles an hour before that in a 65 mile an hour zone, and the truck went by you at 70, you get behind the truck. Now you're doing 70 and you're in that slipstream, but you'll notice you're actually going faster, but using less RPMs. So to get the same speed, it's taking you less work, less energy. And that's what the slipstream is all about. And the neat part about this with Slipstream Shaman is you're working on stuff now that helps you in the past and propels you to a better future and helps you in the future as well. So it's wonderful. It works in every situation of time. And one of the things that we should talk about with time, the relativity of time, is when you're doing this work, time doesn't seem to matter. You will be in a place where the past, present, and future all touch. When I wrote this book and turned it into my editor, she just cringes when she sees the experiences, because every sentence, instead of being written like somebody that understands English, it's written based on the words that are appropriate for that session. So I'll have sentences that jump between present, past, and future, all in the same sentence, and for sure in the same paragraph, as I'm writing these experiences down. And so it's the time is just different there. If you think of time, many people think of time as a linear deal. If you pick up a string or spaghetti, a cooked spaghetti, and you hold it out straight, with the past being on one side, the future on the other, and the present right in the middle, it's not really like that. It's more like a bowl of spaghetti where all the noodles are touching each other at once. It's closer to that, where the past, the present, and the future all take place at the same time. Hi, Angelo. Welcome aboard, and thank you for responding about the analogy. I appreciate that. And so that's what Slipstream Shaman's about. Shamanism works with energy and spirit, and then with Slipstream, we're looking for speed and just doing it much faster and easier, and with less strain, with less effort. And I've got notes, and I typically don't use notes. I just babble on. So forgive me as I look at some of these notes. I think now's a good time to just talk to you about how this all happened. As they say at the intro, I have had a lifelong fascination with alternative healing. And about 20 years ago, I was in a paranormal group. And when you're in these paranormal groups, you run into other groups at different events, at different haunting sites, at different whatever, and you get to know them. And one day I was contacted by somebody in another group that said that they were putting together a group of, not a bigger group, but a group of individuals from multi groups to go help people that nobody else could help. So many times you'll go out to a house that has a haunting, and you can collect evidence, and you can talk to the people about it, and you can give them suggestions, but you're not always able to help them make the thing go away, help them make the phenomenon stop. And what this group was designed to do was get us past that, to make sure that anybody that needed the help would get the help. And I said, that would be great. I want to be a part of that. But what are we going to do that's different? All the groups are doing kind of the same thing. We have slightly different philosophies on what we think the ghosts are, or how to, some groups think if you tell Jesus to make it go away, it will. Others think that you have to do other things. There's a lot of different things that take place in these groups. So everything's a little bit different, but really a little bit different, but truly at the end of the day, the same. And so what are we going to do that was different? And we started talking about the different things we could learn: demonology, shamanism, energy work. And the energy work was something that really interested me, and the shaman part. And it turned out that we found a shaman to come in and do some training. And she came in and she did some wonderful things. She helped us with spirit animals, getting our spirit animals. And that worked out wonderful for me. I was so honored to have the spirit of an elk come to me, a bull elk. And also one of the more unique ones that I've ever heard, Sasquatch. The spirit of Sasquatch came to me, and it was a female Sasquatch. So I was very honored and very grateful that I was able to get my spirit animals with this shaman. Now, when she was teaching us how to access our energy, I ran into problems. And so what she did was she taught us, bring your hands together. And this is really what I work on. Bring your hands together. You've got some energy points right in the middle of your palms, and you can feel that energy. And she was saying that it's going to feel warm. Well, mine was cold. And she was going to say it was a color, and I think she said red or orange, but mine was light blue. And then there was more things that just kept kept going on and on with her that was not matching up with my experience, and it took me out of the training. So I just kind of separated myself. I didn't interrupt the group because I know it was helping some people, and I just backed off and paid attention, and knew that when I got home I was going to learn these techniques and figure this out. So I get home and I start working on it. And I just let it happen. I let the energy come to me. What I found out was that I had this beautiful light blue energy. And the first thing I did was, since it was going to be about helping people, I knew that we needed protection. So I started off by just putting it all over my body. And then I grew it out. I grew my energy out away from me. It started out as a little ball. And when you look at this Slipstream Shaman book, you can see right here my hands. You can see hands holding the energy, and that's really what mine looks like now. It started out as light blue. Now it looks like a sparkler, or maybe light coming through a diamond. And everybody's energy is going to be different. It's okay, whatever yours looks like. I've talked to one young lady who just had streamers of energy shooting out of her hands, and that's great. Some people, mine looks like a ball, and sometimes I refer to it as an energy ball instead of just energy. Another lady has this beautiful honey like energy. It looks like honey. It moves like honey. Very, very powerful energy. And whatever color you get is what you get. People worry, well, what if mine's black? What if I get this black color? It's okay. Your energy is what your energy is. Don't try to force yourself to have the same thing I do. And the same goes when you're building your quantum room. Don't try to force your room to look like mine. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, but everybody has a different quantum room. And Angela has a note. I think I healed my dog with my heart energy. Wonderful. I also brought a AA Raphael green flame and St. German's violet flame. Her metastasis cleared overnight. Fantastic. That is great news, Angela. Thank you for sharing that. So I start working with the energy. I'm using it for protection. I use it at night when I needed to sleep. Some of the things that you're going to find, some of the things you may ask, why would I need to have this training? Why would I want the book? Do you want to meditate? If other methods of meditation haven't helped you, this is a great book. Do you want to find your purpose? We'll talk about my purpose in a little while. I found it by using this, what I'm going to teach you. Are you afraid of the dark or sleeping? How many people have night terrors and just don't want to have the lights out? You want to have some protection. You're vulnerable at night. You can use your energy for protection. The book is a fast read, as I said. In 2 to 3 hours, you can be using it. And then also nightmares. It's worked great on nightmares and many, many things. I'm sure there's thousands and thousands and thousands of things that you can work on with that, but that's just a few. And Angela says she doesn't know what color her energy is. She can't see it, but she can feel it. And you know what? It may never make its appearance known, but as long as you can feel it and you can work with it as you've showed that you can, that's awesome. One of the movies that I absolutely love is A River Runs Through It. And in the first part of the movie, the dad's teaching the kids how to fly fish, and he's got a metronome out, and he's doing the cadence. You have to do it to this beat when you're fly fishing. Use this beat. And he taught them that, and they had success fishing. The brothers had a great time fishing. But then one day the younger brother finds his own rhythm, finds his own style, and breaks away and catches a gigantic fish and has a great time. And the family has a great time, and they really enjoy watching him become his own person. And that's what this is all about, finding your way that works for you, finding out how your energy works, how your energy looks and feels, how it reacts. And so however your energy is, it is. And don't worry about it. You're not doing something wrong if it doesn't look like what I do. So please always remember that you're not doing something wrong if it looks different. So I started working with the energy almost daily. I would work with it. I would bring the energy together. I would get a feel for it, cover myself, expand it out to cover my house, expand it out to cover my family's homes. Sometimes I would expand it to cover the whole state. I've gone as far as the United States. I've gone as far as the world. I've even spread that energy out over the universe. I think there's an infinite amount that it can do. And so one of the many wonderful things about working with energy is there's really no rules. You can do and try almost anything and be almost anywhere. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. So, experiment, see where you go with this. So I'm working with my energy, and I'm finding that I'm able to calm down when I cover myself in this energy. I'm accessing my energy. My body is calming down. I'm getting more focused. I can relax. I can move forward with things. And as I'm doing that, I notice that now I'm getting something close to meditation. And for years I'd try to meditate and it just didn't work. It was like 20 minutes of breathing and trying to clear my mind and then falling asleep. And many people that I've talked to have had the same experience. Now with this, once I got to where I was accessing my energy, the meditation started working for me, but it was just the start. When I had the quantum room, that was when everything really kicked off. And maybe there's going to be something beyond my quantum room. It's hard to say, but that's an exciting thought, is that maybe someday there'll be something even farther along that I can work in. But when you get your quantum room, it's a place of energy and spirit where you can do just about anything. You can be a superhero. You can invite people in, invite their spirit and their energy in to work with you. Animals, you can invite them in. Places you can invite in. So it's a wonderful place to really work and get some things done. And if you've had trouble with meditation, what a fantastic place to go. And now I'll go back to where I'm working with the energy. I'm working with this other group. We're learning some other things, but really the thing that stood out to me was the energy work. And even though I didn't learn a lot from that shaman, it got me started. And I was really happy about that. And I just kept finding more and more things. One day, as I'm working with my energy, I'm meditating, and I'm in a new place. And I didn't have a name for it at that time, but it's what turned out to be my quantum room. And this was just a place of mist. It was gray, swirling mist all around me. I could tell I was in a room. I could not see walls. I could not see a ceiling. I could not see a floor. It was like being in a cloud. Picture being in a big thunder cloud. With the dark energy swirling around you. And it wasn't violent energy. It was kind of slow moving energy, medium to dark gray, and just beautiful. And it was wonderful to be there. I felt different. I could breathe different. I could really access what I wanted to access. And I'm there, and I start off by just really relaxing. Once I got to my quantum room, just relaxing and having fun and enjoying myself. And decided I'm going to try and meditate while I'm in here. And I think that was sent to me. I think the universe or my guides told me, you need to meditate while you're in here. And so I started meditating while I was in there, and new things would come to me from this meditation. I got different ideas on how to help people. I decided one day, you know what, I'm going to do meditation and find what my purpose is. For decades, I had been searching for my purpose. And I really thought that once I had my purpose, everything would be fine. Everything would be clear. The clouds would open up. The angels would sing. It would be wonderful. And while I was in the quantum room, I found my purpose. And it was just 2 words that came to me. And those 2 words were to help. That's my purpose. And looking back at my life, I realized that I had been working my purpose. I went into the military with the idea to help. I studied different things in college with the idea to help. I studied different modalities of therapy to help. It was always about to help. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had been working on my purpose for a long time. Having that clarity did not open up the floodgates, did not make everything easier, but it certainly made it more focused. Excuse me for just a second. I do apologize. I'm fighting some allergies. You would think with all the rain I'm in that the allergies wouldn't be a problem, but there they are. So now I have my purpose. And it gets me a clarity on how I'm going to proceed. And that was where really, when the whole Slipstream Shaman came into existence, now I had a place where I could help people. I didn't quite realize it at the time that I was going to be using that space to help people, but I knew that I had something special with that quantum room, with that space. And so that's when things started moving for me, and when it really got exciting. With the group I was in, the way we were approaching things, and I don't know why so many of the paranormal groups do this, but many of them want to go in and fight. They want to go fight things. And that's what this group wanted to do. When we had problems in a house where somebody felt like it was haunted, or they felt like they were being possessed or watched, or whatever the case may be, they wanted to go fight it, and fight the demons. And I felt like that was the right direction, but there was something nagging at me about it also. So I wasn't 100% on board. And we were doing these many things in the houses and seemed to be getting better results than
Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTK-DB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed. Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive.
Welcome back, everybody. I don't know if I had a solar flare or if my alien DNA kicked in and put down the net again, but that's kind of a common thing with me. And so if there is a way for electronics to fail, if I'm involved, they'll find a way. So sorry about that. And just in case the word I said hit the airwaves before I lost complete internet, I do apologize. And if you didn't hear it, never mind. So we were talking about being in the quantum room, and we were looking for fights. So I thought everybody in the group during the original training was going to bring different people with them to these things. And by people, I mean like angels, those type of things. So they were going to bring Archangel Michael and Jesus and different things with them to these events. And metaphorically speaking, in an energy state. And I didn't have anything that I felt was right at the time. And so when I'm in my quantum room, I decided I'm going to build a warrior team had my purpose, and so to help, I figured I needed a warrior team. So I just put a question out: who wants to be on my warrior team? And a little part of the mist opened up, and out walks a little beagle that I'd had. Her name was Desi. She was a gorgeous little dog, and if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see some pictures of her. Gorgeous little dog, friendly, super wonderful with people, wonderful with puppies. She did not tolerate other dogs. It took a long time for her to accept another dog into her area, and anything that came into the yard was in trouble. If you were a snake, if you were a rat, if you were a mouse, bee, whatever the case is, she was going to eat you. It was not, thank you, Angela. I'm glad you didn't hear it. So, yeah, she was going to eat anything that came in the yard. And what a wonderful first thing to have on my warrior team. Now Desi had passed away about 3 years before this. And so at the time, I wasn't sure if what was coming to me was her essence, her spirit, or if it was my thoughts, or if it was a part of me that said, we need to have her attributes on this warrior team. And so I created it. What I've come to believe is that the animals and the people that are on my warrior team, my love team, and then the 7th generation team are all people, spirits, their own energy. So I do believe that that's the case now. Even there are 2 things that are fictional characters. And I think with fictional characters, there's a life that comes to them, a spirit that comes to them. One of the phenomenons we see is there are people that absolutely believe that Thin Man is a real thing, that it's out in the woods getting people. And I've talked to people, very credible people that I know very well, that believe they've seen it. Now, this thing was something out of a story. It was 100% fiction that somebody wrote a story about and won a science fiction contest. But now it's being seen all over the place. And so I do think fiction things take on a life of their own. And so I've got 2 fictional characters that are on my warrior team, and they have their own energy, their own spiritual energy, even though they've never existed on the physical plane that we know of. So the next thing that came through is my dog Max. He was a Springer Spaniel, and this dog was a fighter. He was the shortest Springer Spaniel I'd ever seen, and his center of gravity allowed him to really work over bigger dogs that started fighting with him. Now, Max would never fight a girl dog. He was always friendly to female dogs, and he was very tolerant with puppies. Puppies could climb on him and bite him and hang on him and everything else. He ignored it. It was fine. But if a male dog acted like it needed to show any kind of dominance, the fight was on, and it wasn't going to end until that dog gave up, because Max was not going to give up. So I had 2 great fighting machines with me. The next thing that came through was another Springer that I had. I've had a lot of Springers, and you can tell by all this gray hair that I've been around a while. So I had Thomas was the next one that came out, and he was a very sweet dog, but he was very protective. I can remember just before he passed, I was taking him for a short walk, and a dog came out, was barking at us. And that poor guy, he had a giant growth on his lung and hard for him to walk. And he had the cone on and everything, and that dog came out, and he turned on that dog and scared it away. So he was not afraid. He was ready to fight. He was sweet, but don't let that confuse you. He was ready to go. What a great dog. So I had those 3. Then I had the fictional characters, and you can read about them in the book. I won't go into too much detail here, but the fictional characters that are great warriors joined us. Also an uncle of mine. And if you took Clint Eastwood in his Marine movies and crossed him with Red Foreman, you would have my uncle. He served in World War II in the Marine Corps and also in Korea, and just tough as nails. All the kids in the neighborhood were afraid of him and respected him. And he single-handedly filled a platoon of recruits. Everybody wanted to be like him. And every boy in that neighborhood that I hung out with we all ended up going in the Marines, and that was because of my uncle. So that was another great person to have on this team. So I had my warrior team, and we were ready to start doing things. And we did some work in some of the houses we went to. And then I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I decided it was time to start helping people more. And by that, I mean doing healing sessions, not just going to houses that were haunted, but actually doing healing sessions. And what I would do is just invite that person in, and their spirit, their essence, whatever you want to call it, would come into the quantum room. Desi would start sniffing around until she found something. We would remove it from the person and get rid of it. Now, by taking that off the person, and we'll talk about some of these things, they're companions, they're parasites, they're otherworldly. There's 3 things that I've run into. By taking that thing off of them, the people were able to heal. Now, they didn't always heal and stay healed, but they were able to get better. They did improve. So one day as I'm doing a healing, I thought there needs to be more to it than just the warrior team. And got done with the healing, went back in, was meditating, and what came to me was just the word love. And so I asked, who wants to be on the love team? And again, the clouds kind of parted in a small area, and out walks Thomas, the Springer I told you about before that would fight, but he was very loving. And then I had a little dog named Sinsin when I was a little guy. Sinsin came out to help. And then my aunt, who happened to be the wife of the Marine. Now, those two were so different from each other. Not that he was mean. My uncle was actually a very nice man, but he had a very gruff exterior, and he liked people understanding that things could get ugly, and I think his persona kept a lot of problems from happening. He could tell people to stop behaving wrong, and it would just happen. But it was because of his stature and who he was. But make no mistake, it would get ugly if you pushed it too far. So here's my aunt, beautiful, kind woman, just love radiated out from her. Everybody loved her. She worked in schools, just pure love. She wanted everybody to be happy, everybody to be involved, everybody to be a part of things. And so I was so happy with what I had for a love team. And during that time, I kept seeing something kind of in the periphery, a small girl peeking at us through the mist, would not come out to where I could see her, but was very interested and wanted to be a part of this, but just wasn't ready to come out yet. So I had the love team set up, and what we started doing was I would bring somebody into the quantum room, and Desi would find something on them. Now, sometimes these things made sense, sometimes they didn't, but these things were manifesting in a way that I just would say what I saw. So one of my favorites is a lady that I was working with, and Desi was very interested in her back, and she was scratching at her back and put her head in. And again, this is all in energy. The lady wasn't in the room. She was in a different state. But Desi reaches into her energy, pulls out this rag that was wrapped around her heart. And we took that rag, brought it out. And this was when we started doing a better process. So in the past, what we would have done is just taken that thing out of her and incinerated it and walked away. But I remembered nature abhors a vacuum. So when you take something out of somebody, you have to put something in there to keep it from going bad again. So when we got the towel out, this rag, we filled that spot with love, just tons and tons of healing love till it was coming back out of her. And then that rag that we'd pulled out, we gave it some debriding energy. Now, debriding is what happens when you get burned and they pull the skin off so that the stuff underneath can heal. That's debriding. And so we debride these things that I call companions and also parasites. We debride them and then fill them full of love, and they return to the energy that they should be. And so, and I didn't know it at the time, but this lady had heart trouble and she was on heart medication. And virtually from that day, she started to improve until she was eventually off that heart medicine. And I didn't know that she was having heart trouble. We didn't talk about that. And one of the things that I like to do when I do healings is to know very little about the people. I don't want my own brain to get in the way. I want the energy to do the work and to find the things. So I was really happy with that. That was one of my happiest times, was helping her. And for some reason, hearts are really effective with this. Angela, you mentioned that you healed your dog with your heart energy, something very powerful with our hearts. And my energy, my healing work really identifies with hearts, especially hearts that are having trouble. So that was a beautiful one. And so that was a companion. There's 3 different types of things that I find. A companion, which started out with a positive intent. And one of the ways you can think about it is, if you took, if the muscles on your arm were hurting, okay, and I'm not very good at finding how to lean. So the muscles of your arm are hurting. So you wrap some rope or a belt around it, pull it in tight, and relieves the pain, right? You do that, and it helps you today. But what condition is your arm going to be in a month or a year or 10 years or 20 years? So what helped you today could end up hurting you in the future. Picture doing that as a 5-year-old. What's your arm going to look like as a 10-year-old if you left that thing on there? So things that started out with a positive intent and really wanted to do good for you sometimes end up, just because of your development, holding you back and hurting you. And that's a companion. And those are great things. And so what we do is remove them from the person, give them cleansing energy, give them love, let them go back to what they were. So we might pull a stick out of somebody, and it may not make any sense. It might be, we might take a stick out of their leg, but their back was hurting. But because of the energy change in their body, they are now able to heal. So we pull this stick out of the person's body, debride it, get it cleaned up, give it new energy, give it the healing love energy, and it might change into a bird and fly away. Or it might change into a tree, or it might change into a stream. It's going to go to a new energy where it can go do what it wants to do and what it's made to do, which was help people. It was still trying to help the person that it was with, but it was no longer able to. And so that's a companion. They started out as something good. The next thing is I call a parasite. And these things didn't start out as something good. It could have started out as a negative thought. It could have been, you can call it a voodoo hex, or, whatever you want to call it, but something negative attached to the person and grew. And those are parasites. And most of the time when we find these parasites, they look a bit like they look kind of insect-like. And so they look a bit insect. Let's see. Okay, I looked at a page that I probably shouldn't have. I'll get out of that. They looked insect-like for the most part, or just crusty and gross. And I don't know why that it's that way, but maybe the energy is just putting off that it doesn't want to look good. So, and one that I find quite often is the same type of creature, and it looks a little bit like a praying mantis crossed with a beetle, and it has a tube that'll come out of its mouth and hook to the person around the neck, in the neck area, and then 2 forearms that go into the shoulders, and then 2 legs that hook down by the hips to hold on. And when we remove these things, we have to heal those 5 points of contact and make sure there's nothing in there, so it doesn't come back. So we'll remove this parasite and heal the wounds with love. First, we debride the wounds, then we heal it with love. Pack it full. We don't want anything to come back. We don't want to leave a hole, because nature abhors a vacuum. And the reason that we started healing the things that we took off people was because I truly believe most things, if not everything, started with a positive intent. Now, these parasites may not have. They seem to have started by something bad. And so we want to watch the energy we have around us. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is road rage. And when I bring up road rage in this setting, everybody seems to laugh. I know that there's people listening right now who say, "Oh yeah, I know about road rage," and I know about road rage. I've never tried to run anybody off the road, but I've certainly screamed bad words. I've just had horrible thoughts about the people on the road. And they probably have no clue that they did anything that upset me, but I went after them in my mind, right? And so I'm creating these bad thoughts, which are energy, and this energy is going out to the world. And one of my big concerns is so much road rage. How many created on people from road rage thoughts, things that went to people, got on them, started to grow, and really caused them trouble. So we really want to be careful about our thoughts. And I'm going to do a Poly-Medela today. I'm going to read one to you that's in the second book, the second Slipstream Shaman book. But it's about road rage. And when I did this, it really changed my beliefs, my life. It made a huge difference for me. It's been about 2 months since I did this Poly-Medela, and I know that it helped other people, and I know that it greatly helped me. I can now drive without stressing about it for 2 weeks beforehand, knowing all the places that people are going to make me mad and all the things that are going to go wrong. I can also get into a car and drive for an hour and not be mad at everybody. Every once in a while, somebody will do something really weird, and I'll get like, oh, that wasn't cool. That's as bad as it gets. It's really made a change for me, and I'm going to read this Poly-Medela in a few minutes. And I would just like everybody to really attach to the energy and feel it and be a part of it, and go with that. So, and then the final one, we have companions. They started off with a positive intent. Parasites that probably didn't start with a positive intent. And then there's otherworldly things. There's things that I'm working on right now. One thing it's just this giant thing of tentacles in space. It's the size of a sun. It's huge. It has billions, trillions, I don't know how many tentacles coming off and taking people's energy. There's that thing. There's also an alien, an alien with a triangle shaped head. I'll say it correctly eventually. But that was feeding off of a friend of mine. And that story is in the book. It's under the name Ron. And Ron's the only person in the book that I use their actual name. Everybody else, we did a different name, an anonymous name. But Ron, we used his real name. He's good with that. He's an experiencer. He's been abducted multiple times. He's seen Bigfoot. He's really had a very interesting life, and he's a great friend of mine. And I think the world of him. But he's the only one whose true name is in the book. Everybody else is anonymous. And so those are the three main things that we find as we're doing this work. And one of the things, and as I was preparing for today, is there might be more. I've only run into these three types. I'm curious to see if there's more, if they're good things, bad things, whatever they may be. And I'm also curious about what's after the quantum room. So the quantum room is a giant leap for me. Really changed how I did things. And I would like to talk about some people's quantum rooms, so that you know that if yours looks different, it's okay. So one of the people I work with, she has this great quantum room that sounds so inviting, so comfortable. She can walk down some stairs, some stone steps, and get to a pond. And what a beautiful place. She can get in the pond, she can walk around it, she can do whatever, but that's where hers is. I've got another person that's inside their car that they loved. Other people that are just floating in space or sitting on the moon or in a special ship or a special place in the woods. Whatever your quantum room looks like is fine. You could be underwater. There is no limit on what it could be, and no expectation on it. So really there's no holding you back. Don't let it bother you if it doesn't look like mine. In fact, nobody's has. And that's okay. Just go with it. It's okay. So you're going to learn how to get to your energy. You're going to learn how to build a quantum room in the book. And now I'd like to talk to you about the morning rituals that I do and the evening rituals that I do. I take some time in the morning to set an intent for me and my loved ones for the day. And so I will get my energy, surround myself with it, and then start doing energy balls, force fields, whatever you want to call it, in the places for people that I love. So I'll go to my relatives' houses and cover them with this energy for protection and happiness, and then sometimes I'll expand it to the whole state that they live in. I'll do it over the places that I work and to help things go well. I'll do it for people that are having a hard time. That's how I start my day. It's about 5 minutes, and I'm able to put good positive energy to set an intent for the day for these people. And then at night I do the same thing, but it's more with the intent of protection. I want them protected through the night. I want everything to be great for them. So I do the morning stuff to set an intent, also for protection and happiness. And then in the evening, I do it to more for protection than anything, so they have a good, safe night and good, restful sleep. And again, if you want to do that, you certainly can. You'll have the tools to do it after reading the book. One of the things that we know is the observer effect. And this is a quantum physics term. And what it tells us is just by watching something, you're going to change it. You're going to make it different. So if you're watching water to try to help it boil, you're going to change it just by watching it. Anything that you pay attention to will change. If you're watching your kids, you're in the front room, the kids are playing, you start watching them, they'll notice. And so the observer effect tells us that anything that we watch will change. And so if we watch it with a positive intent, you will get, or if we watch it and interact with it with a positive intent, you're going to get some results. You may not always get the results you want. When I do healings on people, that doesn't mean that if they're really sick, that it's just going to heal and go away. Sometimes it does, but not every time. But what will happen is they'll get better. Maybe they just start sleeping better. Maybe it's the part that the last part they needed to where they can just relax and let go. And that's happened before too. People are fighting the transition to the other side, and we go in to help. And really what our help is that we help them relax and accept and be comfortable and happy with the transition that's about to happen. And that's a beautiful thing too. And so even though I don't always get a perfect result that I would like to get, I would love to be able to, whoever I help, they're cured, they're just gone. That's not always the case. There's been some great miraculous changes, but sometimes it's a small change, just accepting what's happening with them, being comfortable, being relaxed. Those are great things. You can see them breathing better after it happens. Another great thing about this work is that I can do it from anywhere. I can work with somebody and have worked with people on other continents, definitely different countries, all across the United States. Space and time don't mean anything in the quantum room. And that's another interesting thing about the time. Sometimes you'll go into your quantum room and do some meditation and work on things, and it feels like you spent hours in there. And then when you come out of the quantum room and you're back in your physical body, you notice only 5, maybe 15 minutes have taken place. And then there's other times where you'll be in the quantum room and it feels like 5 or 10 minutes took place in your energy, in your spirit, but what took place in your body could have been an hour or 2 hours or whatever. So time really is a crapshoot with this, and don't let it bother you if as you're working the time doesn't match up, that the 10 minutes in the quantum room, you can get 2 or 3 hours worth of work done for 10 physical minutes, and just the opposite as well. The other thing, so the observer effect, and then we'll talk about retrocausality. And this was super, when I first heard about retrocausality, I had to pull off to the side of the road because I was overwhelmed by it. And what was happening is I was hearing it on the radio, and they were talking about an experiment that had taken place. And what it involved was they went to a hospital and they were given access to some records of people that had a blood disease. And they they took the records of people that had this disease 10 years earlier, and they just split them up, made two different piles of these files, these records. And the pile on the left, they did all the stuff that I'm talking about. They prayed over it. They sent it positive energy. They gave it love. They may have even had somebody come in and do energy work on it. But everything they did was about love and energy and healing and happiness. And then they didn't do anything with the other pile. Then they checked the records and found that the pile that they sent the love and the energy and the happiness to had improved in multiple ways. Those people recovered faster. They recovered more complete. All the things that they were measuring were better with these people to a statistical level. And so what they said was that they were affecting the past by things that they were doing in the future, which is a part of physics, quantum physics, which is retrocausality. And that's one of the few things when you get into the paranormal, the energy work, those kind of things, there's not always a lot of ways that you can prove what you're doing. Retrocausality is one of those ways. The other beautiful thing that I've read about is the Reiki master that took love and just gave water this wonderful love energy, really, really positive love energy. And then there was water, a tank of water that didn't have that. And when they froze the water and looked at the crystals, the magnificent difference in how the crystals formed, the ice crystals, was staggering. The ones that had the love were these beautiful, geometric, gorgeous crystals. And the other water crystals were just kind of all over the place. They were a mess. And so you can really, by your positive energy, your positive intent, make good things happen. And with negative energy, you probably can too. People ask me all the time, can you use what you're teaching me for bad things? Can you like put a hex on people, put a spell on them? And my answer to that is I hope not. But I guess anything's possible. I would really encourage everybody. This is something that we should be doing in a positive way, using it for good things. And the more good you put out there, the more good that's going to come back to you. So let's really get away from thoughts of how I can use this for something other than very positive. And so maybe what we want to do is take a break. And in a few minutes, once we come back from the break, I'm going to read the Poly-Medela that I did on road rage, and then we'll talk more about that. And I'm just going to check with Todd if we can have a break here real quick. All right, he says it's ready. So Todd, go ahead and take us away, and in a few minutes we'll be back and we'll talk about road rage and how to avoid it.
Brandon Wainwright is an animal lover, author, energy healer, and former police officer. In April of 2018, he and his family lost their dog Tyson to a brain tumor. It was an inevitable experience that comes with being a pet owner, but it was devastating nonetheless. Tyson's Gift: How an 8-pound canine became a man's greatest spiritual guide. In the story of Tyson's life, from his entry into the lives of Brandon and his wife Misha, to his equally impactful departure and continued spiritual influence, Tyson's beautiful story will entertain and comfort readers of all backgrounds. Get your copy at tysonsgift.com. That's tysonsgift.com, or wherever books are sold. From its beginnings, Used was created to unleash the excellence of nature's healing powers and bring them to people everywhere. With almost 90 years in the market, they are considered a worldwide pioneer in complete herbal wellness therapy. All Swiss Used products are natural, essential oil-based, pleasant, and harmonious. They are extracted from plants and herbs with the latest technology to ensure the best results. Swiss Used Live Healthy with consultant Stephanie will guide you in the right direction to find the perfect essential products just for you. For example, have an upset tummy? Try our soothing chamomile that has not only been used by many, but trusted for years. Keep in mind, you just can't get these amazing oils at your local shopping center. They're just too special. For that, you need a connection. And that connection is Stephanie. Want some? Then head on over to Facebook and search Swiss Used Live Healthy. That's Swiss Used Live Healthy, and contact Stephanie today.
All right. Well, we're having an adventure as usual with keeping us on the air. Thank you everybody for sticking with us and not leaving every time that the internet crashes. And I just love having the alien DNA. So what we're going to talk about now is Poly-Medela, and one I did on road rage. Now this particular one's going to be in the second Slipstream Shaman book. And that should be out in the next, I hope next month. It should be very soon coming out. So we're going to get that thing wrapped up and out to everybody. And it's the first book that's out right now is all about learning the process, accessing your energy, getting yourself ready to help people. And the second book is some nuts and bolts things to release trauma and really dig into different issues. So first one is about energy. The second one is nuts and bolts. And so what I want to tell you about Poly-Medela, and we talk about this in the first Slipstream Shaman book. What it is it's our term. It's coined by the Slipstream Shaman. It means many healings. And what I would like you to do is, as you listen to what I'm going to talk about, just if you can, if you're not driving, if you're in a place that you can relax, just really take some nice deep breaths, see if you can access your energy and really listen to what I'm going to talk to you about, and feel this energy. The wonderful thing about the work we do is it's not time bound. So even though I did this Poly-Medela several months ago, and some of you may have already felt it, you're going to feel it even more right now. So it's a many healings. So please breathe, relax. If you can access your energy and go to your quantum room, you'll have your maximum effect. But just relax and let it come to you. And it's surprising how much energy is in road rage. As I'm working on this healing session, I start to feel multiple pains throughout my body. Pain in my shoulder centered over my spine. Muscles tightening, pulling, very uncomfortable. I'm leaning forward. Breathing is shallow, very labored. My chest is tight, very hard to breathe. This is sucking my energy, extreme fatigue. When I'm working with people, the pains, ailment, sickness sometimes manifest as an object. It could be a rock or a stick or a towel. The road rage manifested as a huge mountain that was sitting on top of a very long straight road. I tried to move the mountain. It would not budge. I tried to take chunks out of it and make it easier to move. It would not break up. As I was trying to work with it, I heard a voice say, trauma liberation. Trauma liberation is a process that you're going to learn in the next book. So don't worry too much about it. If you don't know what that is, you can, and we'll be talking more about it. When you hear a voice or have a strong feeling or something is nagging at you, there's a reason. Listen, acknowledge, and take action. If you decide that it's the right thing to do, it usually is the right thing to do. As I'm working the trauma liberation for global road rage, I can feel some things start to change in my physiology. My hands clench, my jaw tightens, almost to the point of grinding my teeth. I can feel the muscle on the side of my jaw clench and release. While typing the physiological responses, I noticed how disproportionately developed the jaw muscle was to other muscles in my head. I clench it way too much. Does any of this resonate with you? It does feel like it's resonating with many of you. I find a memory that I've assigned to be what the road rage is to me. It's not a memory of full-blown crazy rage. It's more a memory of what could be a minor annoyance. I see my hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, forearms and fists clenching, unclenching, and my shoulders are tight. There is a person in the left lane, the fast lane, the passing lane. He is only going the speed limit. Fellow road ragers, does this sound familiar? Is it getting your blood boiling? I can see that the cars in the center lane are too close together for me to pass this fast lane clogger. As I begin to use the trauma liberation process, I find immediate release from my frustration as soon as the protective shield is in place. My muscles relaxed, my thoughts cleared, and I could breathe properly again. I won't continue describing the process. I just want you to know how quickly you can start feeling better and healing with this process. After completing the healing trauma liberation process, I realized that I was only halfway done. The high-speed freeway road rage was addressed and corrected. However, there's another road rage manifestation that needed to be addressed before I could have a true Poly-Medela for road rage. How often are you driving through town, leaving a safe gap between you and the car in front of you, and someone in the next lane to you has to squeeze in? Most of the time after they do this, you realize there is nobody behind you for over 100 yards. I'll bet there has been thousands of parasites that have been initiated because of this very frustrating behavior. The road rage Poly-Medela is now complete. One of the many aspects of working in a place of energy and spirit is that time works differently there than what we experience without physical bodies. You are feeling a difference in your world, the pain and rage as I work on it. You will also feel a difference every time you read about it. A description of this Poly-Medela will be posted on the Slipstream Shaman YouTube channel. And then after I did this, I would like to talk about the energy work that I'm doing and what I remember of it. It was fascinating reading that because I'd forgotten it. When I do a session, I have very limited time to make notes about what just happened. My human physical brain can't comprehend and store what takes place in the quantum field. I can quickly write notes, but if I don't, I will lose everything probably within an hour and not remember anything that happened. So as I was reading that Poly-Medela a minute ago, you may have heard a change in my voice. I was back in that place and feeling the energy, and I hope that all of you felt the energy. We know with the observer effect that things will be better just because we looked at it. And by looking at road rage, if you've had a problem with it, worst case scenario, you're thinking about it a little bit more and what could happen. There's just too many bad things that happen during it, the bad thoughts, the bad things that we throw out there. And so the less we can do, the better off we are. And I know it's not easy, but I can tell you is over the last 2 months, I can drive to and from work without losing it, without yelling at people, without flipping people off. And, yeah, oh, good job, Shaman. That's a real good way to act. I'm a human, and I hated driving. But this has really helped me feel better. And I feel like it's had an effect on people. I don't think I get cut off as much. I've noticed more and more people getting out of the fast lane. And so I think good things are happening. I'm going to continue to work on this. And as people read it and look at it on YouTube and read it on it'll be on the Instagram page as well. As more and more people feel this energy and share this energy, it's going to get better and better and better. And that, one of the things, Angela, who's a very active listener, thank you, Angela, talking about writing things down when we come out of the meditative state. And something that I'm looking for, and if anybody has ideas, I would love to get an email about it, is I want to get a fairly inexpensive, if not free, program that will take dictation for me, so I can talk about it while I'm going, and it will actually type it. The one on Word that I tried to use shuts off after just a few seconds, and it only gets a couple sentences of any session. So that one's not working for me. But if you know of a good dictation program, I would love to hear about it. And I think that would help me a lot as I'm doing this, to be able to just talk and not leave the quantum room to make a note and then go back in. So I would appreciate it if anybody knows. Trauma release. As I said, the next book is going to be about trauma release. And that is, it started out as a book for first responders. And with all that happened during the pandemic, my thoughts grew, well, not just first responders have a need for trauma release, liberation, whatever you want to call it. Many people do. People that work in the medical field need it. People that work in retail need it. People that work in restaurants need it. And I would like to encourage people, and I say this quite often, is when you're in a retail establishment or a restaurant and you feel like you're not getting the service you need because they don't have enough people, remember the people that are there showed up. And the reason that they're behind is people that didn't show up. So being mean and snippy and just mean to the people that are there doesn't make sense. They're there, they're trying, they're doing their best. And so let's work on being nicer to the people in those settings. They were the ones that showed up. If the rest of their group had showed up, you'd be having a wonderful experience. But let's not get mad at the ones that actually came, that actually came to help. So that's it for my soapbox. Trauma release. As I said, it'll be in the next book and it'll be out soon. I want to tell you something that happened with me. Now, I learned the first part of this process about 20 years ago, maybe more like 25. It's been a long time. No, about 20 years ago. And I had a hernia operation when I was in high school, and it didn't heal very well. For years, the scar was raised. It was red. It was painful. And hernia scars are right at your belt line. So it was always getting rubbed. You'd lean across a table and touch it, and it felt like electricity would go through me. It was a very painful scar. And I did the trauma release process when I was learning, I can't remember what modality, another healing modality. And the first time I learned about getting rid of trauma, I did this. And within a month, this scar that had been about 20 years old and still looked fresh and nasty started to shrink. It stopped being as red. It wasn't as swollen. It was going down. Within 6 months, I couldn't find it. And for sure, in less than a year, I couldn't find the scar. And to this day, and it's been close to 20 years, I can't find the scar. So the process I'm going to teach you in the second Slipstream book, Slipstream Shaman book, will help you with physical trauma for sure. But it's also going to help with mental trauma. And that's how it all started was people asked me to do something for first responders. The things they see every day will weigh you down and will cause a just chaos in your life. And so we wanted to find a way to help them. And that's why this book was written. It started out strictly for first responders, but I realized that there's so much more involved in it, that while first responders are the genesis and a very key part of it, it's truly for anybody that suffered any kind of physical, emotional trauma. And so I would encourage you to check that out when it comes out, and it'll soon be out. And Todd, I know that this is supposed to be a 2-hour show, but unfortunately it looks like we're going to have some more weather, and I may not be able to keep my my internet active. So maybe this is a good time to stop. I do want to encourage Angela. If you want to contact me by email, just go to Slipstream Shaman and slipstreamshaman.com, and you'll see a place for email, and we can talk a little bit, and I'll make sure you know when that book comes out. And it works great on scars, as you mentioned. So please do that. And Todd, I apologize, but unfortunately today it looks like we're going to have to cut this thing a little early. So if you want to go ahead and take us away, and thanks everybody for being here.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.